Okay, hello Year 9s. This is just a short video for the introduction to your speech analysis essay, which is on Wednesday and Thursday this week. For your VCE, like anything you do for analysis from now until the end of Year 12, you can remember the phrase BSAC to help you remember the structure of your introduction. You start with background, you move to your sources, the audience, and the contention. You can see that, but I'll just explain what that looks like. So your first sentence should be some form of introductory statement. It's like an overview about both speeches. So I would probably write something along the lines of that both speeches are similar in that, or both speeches are appealing to the audience to rise up against a corrupt system. Both speeches are attempting to encourage the audience to rebel against an unjust system of government, for example. And then after you've said a statement about both speeches, so you would need to say both Animal Farm's Old Major's speech and Nelson Mandela's speech have the purpose of encouraging the audience to stand up against injustice. Then you go through the two speeches, pick one. For example, you start with Nelson Mandela's speech. You talk about the fact that Nelson Mandela's speech, who was the speaker? Nelson Mandela. Then when it was, 1964, what the audience was, so the jurors, the judge, people in the courtroom, and also because it was recorded and broadcast on radio, your audience of the South African population as well. And the contention, so the main point of the speech is to encourage the listeners to recognise the unfairness and injustice of the apartheid system and therefore to oppose it. So that then you would move to the other speech, so Old Major's speech. You might talk about the fact that Old Major's speech was inside the fictional world of Animal Farm given by Old Major to the audience of the animals for the farm, with the purpose to encourage the animals to rise up and oppose the corrupt human or ruling of the manor farm by men, so to overthrow mankind. And some form of that, I guess, would be your introduction. So I've kind of made notes. If you wanted to have a look onto the OneNote, you'll find here your introduction. So you could pause the video and take some notes. There you go. That's some points about the structure of that introduction. And then if we look at the structure of the conclusion, so that's down the bottom here. Okay. The conclusion, you need to again say in the conclusion only things you have said before. You cannot introduce anything new in the conclusion. So basically your conclusion, you need to have an overall statement about the purpose of both speeches. So both speeches encourage the audience to rise up against corrupt governments, while Animal Farm, Old Major is encouraging is encouraging animals to oppose the corrupt system of humans. In Nelson Mandela's speech, he is appealing to South Africans to recognise the injustice of the apartheid system, and a basic statement that kind of has an overall overview of what the main purpose is of both speeches, and that's all I would do for this particular task. There's a different structure here that you can use for a language analysis if it's just one. I've written a sample conclusion here that I did earlier with a group at the end of the day. So I've said both speeches appeal to the audience to rise up against injustice. Nelson Mandela urges his audience to oppose the injustice of apartheid, whereas Old Major encourages the audience of animals to rebel against the corrupt human rule. Both speeches use a range of direct appeals and persuasive language techniques to convince the listeners to support their views. Actually, I don't think that's very good. I think you should probably say to convince the listeners to take action and join the rebellion, full stop. That's what I would do. So basically a summary of the major points of view and impressions of both speeches. So that's what I would do for my introduction and conclusion. I hope it's useful for you, and I actually hope the audio has recorded this time. This is take 3.